So we're going to talk about just doing you, right? You just got to do you. And this actually started with my hair. It started with my hair. So for those of you who are natural, it's a process. And I'm by no means making any judgment because I went natural in 2003. And the reason I went natural is because I had been moving so much and trying to find somebody else who can do your hair, who's not going to mess it up, who's not going to, give you a buzz cut when you say trim, all of that. It was just too much drama. And I thought, you know what? I am moving way too much. Let me just get to the place where I don't have to worry about putting something in my head. I don't have to go to a professional. I can just take care of it. So I went natural in 2003. And it was a long process trying to get used to it. So I've been natural a very, very long time. And the product search is a challenge, right? The making sure you're taking care of your hair, making sure things are not breaking off and all that kind of stuff. And it looks like I have really, really thick hair. I don't have thick hair. I have a lot of hair. It happens to be very, very fine. I just have a lot of it on my head. And so that is an interesting process in terms of what you do with your hair and what you put on your hair. And so I did my hair over the weekend, and it's an all day thing. And used a new product, and I'm not going to name the product because it didn't work well for me, but that's probably user error, not the product. And every product didn't work for everybody, right? So it's not fair to call them out because who knows what the issue is. So I did my hair, and I posted about it yesterday. And I said, it started off really great. It was wet out of the shower and put all the product in. It looked really nice. And I was like, I don't know what it's going to look like in the morning, but we're just going to try it. And I got up and I thought, ah! So it was okay, right? Far. But when you got up close, it's like all of the product was like sitting on top of the hair. It was a hot mess is what it was. If I'm really honest. It was a hot mess. And so I started thinking, I'm like, number one, man, I got to do my hair again. But then, you know me, there's a metaphor in everything. A metaphor in everything. And I said, as I started looking at my hair and started looking online, I'm like, what is everybody else using? And how are they doing this? And how are they? I thought, this is the problem. This is the problem. One of the problems. Or let me not say problem. This is a challenge. We need to do what works for us. And when we are out there seeking support, when we're out there seeking information, when we're out there gathering information, right? And looking at all of the influencers and YouTubers and Instagrammers and everybody else who's giving us advice about what to do and how to do it and how to use stuff and what we should use and all that kind of stuff. Everything from skincare and makeup and hair and exercise and food and which vitamins, you name it. What do I, how do I, right? That's the biggest question people ask. How do? That's the biggest thing people ask. There's so much information out there that we can start getting caught up in doing what the other person did. If you're out there and getting ready to build a business, you are not going to hurt for all the people who will tell you, this is how you make $14 million in 2 minutes.
Laura, yes. Can I ask you a quick question? Sure. Somebody just hit us up. What do you mean by natural hair for our other listeners?
Oh, that's a good question. So, and thank you for asking that. So what we mean by natural is the hair, the way it comes out of your head in its natural state. So for those of us women of color, in particular Black women, and there's a whole history of this. You can actually watch that movie, Good Hair. I think that was Chris Rock that did Good Hair. But there's a whole natural hair movement. And even in the US, we actually have laws passed that you can discriminate against someone about their hair. So for years, I couldn't go into work if I had my hair like this. It was seen as unprofessional. So natural means how your hair comes out of your head without any other processing. So those relaxers that we would use, Brazilian blowouts, all of those kind of things that alter the standard or the natural state of your hair. And we just call it natural, right? It is what we tend to call it in the Black community with Black hair, is going natural, which is taking all the chemicals off your hair and not straightening it with a process anymore. So thank you for asking that. See, perspective.
Yeah.
You can't assume everybody knows what you're talking about. So, no matter what you're trying to do, there's always someone who can tell you that they've got the solution. And they're going to give you a solution for a price, usually, right? They're going to give you the solution. And that's great. But here's the thing. Here's where it gets to be a challenge. If you are not really clear and aligned on who you are, right? Not clear on the vision of what you want, then asking someone how to opens the door for you to assume that that is the way for you to do your thing. And the reality is, it may or may not work for you. The product that works on my hair is not necessarily going to work on somebody else's. I'm not going to get curl that looks like Alicia Keys because that's not my hair. My hair looks different. My hair curls different. My hair responds different, right? It's like a metaphor for everything else. Just because everyone else is doing whatever the thing is, doesn't mean it is going to work for you, whether that is how you lead in your organization, right? How you build your team, how you design projects, how you execute projects, or it's how you build a business, what product you want. Because there are 4 million coaches, right? Actually, there are probably billions of coaches. There are billions of candle makers. There are billions of marketers and social media managers and podcasting. There are billions of people doing exactly what you're doing. Part of it's timing, read Outliers, right, by Malcolm Gladwell. Part of it's timing. Part of it is their charisma and belief, right? They just, if they're so, then you're going to be, right? Great marketing, great writing. That's part of it. The other part of it is it looks so good. It looks so shiny that it's got to work, right? Because what they're showing us is their highlight reel. I posted this a long time ago. There was a quote that I saw that says, part of the problem is we continuously compare our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem because we look at the mess that we have. Sorry, I got the hiccups, y'all. We look at the mess that we have or the difficulty that we're going through or the challenge in getting what we want. And we see somebody else's shiny apple, but we don't see the worms inside that apple. Or there's a picture that shows a beautiful red apple, right? The photo is the beautiful red apple. And then the next photo is a mirror that they set behind the apple. So like if you're here and you're looking at the apple taking a photo, they put a mirror behind the apple. And what you see on the other side is somebody took a big bite out of it. We don't always see the mess that somebody went through. We don't see the difficulty. We don't see the challenge, right? Not everybody is bringing that forward. Now, people are getting better at showing you how the sausage is made, right? Because that's about authenticity and honesty and transparency. But not everybody does that. And the challenge for us is being confident enough in who we are and what we want that we can take all of this external information that we gather and truly use it as information and advice, not direction and instruction. Let me say that again. We can use it as information and advice, not direction and instruction. And here's the difference. If it's information and advice, you can lay it on top of what it is you're wanting to do. And you can mold that into how you operate, how you show up, right? What is authentic for you. You can take that idea of posting on social media. Okay, so I know I want to post on social media, but it is not like me to be posting 42 times a day. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be doing 4 million videos and reels just to do reels. I'm just not going to do that stuff because in order to do it, I'm not me. I'm not me to do that. But I do know I need to be on social media. So I'm going to show up when I do show up consistently. I'm going to be consistent, whatever that means for me. And it's going to be real so that it can resonate and connect with the person who needs to find me, right? That's the conversation you want to have with yourself. Is it, well, everybody else says you got to post 12 times a day. Do I really? Or do I need to post 1 or 2, but they're real and they're pointed and they're consistent and they are me and they are reaching out to that person who needs to find me? Is that what you need to be doing? And that's the thing that I talk about when showing up. You need to do you. Now, I did a podcast probably 2 years ago talking about you do you, but not all the time, right? So I'm not talking about the, you do you. Well, this is just me. I don't know what to tell you. This is just how I show up. I'm not talking about that because we need to have other conversations around that because there is still such a thing about appropriateness. What I'm talking about is the design of the desire of your heart, what it is that you are trying to accomplish, and ensuring that you are not turning yourself into a pretzel because someone else told you there's a better way to do it. Because that may have been a better way for them based on their skill, their experience, their desires, their capabilities, right? Their transparency, whatever their story is, that may have been the perfect aligned piece for them, but it may not be for you because you are not them. And that's okay, because the whole point is that you're not them. The whole point is that you're you. So how do you go about building the thing that you want, right? That really focusing on the thing, letting the how take care of itself by gathering additional information and then moving in action the best way you can. You know, a prime example I can give to you is, you know, when I came out of corporate, I knew I wanted to have my own business. And I think I've told you guys before, I was like, oh, I'm out. This is going to be up and running, no problem. 3 months. I got this. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I'm fine. I've done really well, but it's not, no, right? That wasn't even close to reality. But that's what I saw. And I'd been so successful before that this is a piece of cake. Are you kidding me? Right? And there were a couple of things about that I wasn't connecting. Had I decided to leave and be a fractional HR person, or to decide that my business was going to be doing HR for people, had I decided really that's what I wanted to do, it probably would have taken off immediately. But that wasn't really what I wanted to do. And yet, as I began to build and move into what really is my zone of genius, I kept having this little thing in the back of my mind, you know, you need a product, you need a product, you need a product. Now I know where that was coming from. Part of that was coming from having been in professional services. And it is an interesting situation to be in when all you've got to sell is what's in your brain. That's what professional services is. Very rarely do they have a product. They may have some kind of system you can buy that you can utilize, but they're really selling you their expertise. And you have to have a certain level of ego to be able to be in professional services, because people are going to say no a lot. Especially if you're not at a Deloitte or an EY or PwC or McKinsey or something like that, people are going to say no a lot. And it's really difficult to hear people say no, because they're not saying no to your product. They're saying no to you and what's in your brain. At least that's how people can take it, right? That it's not that they're rejecting this thing because it's not a solution for them. They're rejecting me because all I have is what's in my brain, and that's what I'm selling, right? And so I know that part of that disconnect for me was, oh, but the product is different because it's not about me. It was also a visibility issue. There's so much, right, y'all, in this development. But what that made room for was it opened up this space for me to start going down a path that didn't appear unreasonable at all, because it was absolutely in my zone of excellence, not my zone of genius, but my zone of excellence. And it seemed reasonable, and it was something that people were asking for, and I can do it. So why not? It was going to be the thing. And I hated every single minute of it. It took me forever. And I've got this thing, right? I've got this HR online portal that's been a lot of money and a lot of time developing. And it's really good. And I hate it, right? Because I don't want to put something out there that's not going to be always up to date, right? That's going to mislead people. That's not who I am. And the idea of digging deep into what is the new, minimum wage, what is the new, especially in COVID, like what are the new rules around that? What are the new rules around overtime and PTO? And to think about digging into all that compliance stuff again just makes my skin crawl. I just cannot. I'd rather pluck out my eyelashes than doing that. But I was in this space where there was open room for someone else to tell me what I should be doing. And these are well-meaning, well-intentioned people who I love and who I consider really great counselors and coaches for me, right? And had my best interest in mind. All they saw was my pain of really wanting to figure out what it is and how all of it fit together. And like, but this is the thing. And because I wasn't as clear, I said, okay, well, that must be the thing. Because these other people are expert and they've done it and they get it. So they know better than me about what I should be doing. But do they? Because here's the thing. Do people know better than you what you should be doing? Or do people have a better idea of how you could accomplish the thing because they've been down the road that is similar to yours? Those are two different things. It's what versus how. Are you going to let people tell you your what? And I don't mean understanding the solution, right? Getting really clear on what the problem is you're trying to solve. That's not what I'm talking about. Because you do need to be really focused on understanding what is the solution that you're bringing, because there's a problem that you're trying to solve. and getting input for that is really important. But I mean, the fundamental like grounding of what it is that you are wanting to do, the desire of your heart, the thing you want to show and deliver to the world, that's got to be clear. Your vision of that has got to be clear. Because if not, it opens up the room for you to go down all of these winding paths that aren't detours to your ultimate destination, but are true derailers of where you should be. Because what you've enabled is people who do have absolute expertise and for the most part have your interest in mind to tell you what you should be doing. You're letting other people should on you. Instead of being really clear about what it is you want and then enabling and broadening your world, right? And your network to get information that can inform the how, so that you can continue to move in action. And as you keep your eye on your vision, is that I love that old movie, keep your eyes on the prize, right? If you keep your eye on the vision, then as you need to morph and move and change and redirect, you can take in all this information and understand what is helpful and what is not. What is an aha? Like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Let me try that. The other thing it does, which was a big aha for me this weekend, and a real, honestly, a big piece that I said, oh, maybe I'm still maturing. I'm not too old to mature, is being okay with experimentation. Being okay with not being perfect out of the gate. And I do have a lot of perfectionism, right? And it's even hard for me to describe because it's not so much perfect as it's just doing the right thing, right? Making it as exceptional and as excellent as possible the first time. Because the tape that plays in my head is, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, what makes you think you have time to do it over? So it needs to be right the first time, or as right as possible the first time. But that doesn't leave a lot of room for experimentation. Again, hair metaphor, right? You got to be willing to experiment. What product works? What doesn't work? Do I do it when my hair is completely soaking wet, or do I have to do it when it's damp? Do I do it when it's completely dry? Do I do it in sections? Do a big sections, little sections? Do I do little ringlets? What? All of that, right? And it takes time. So even people doing ads are like doing all the A/B testing and all that, all of the stuff that this basic marketing. Understand what people need, do some A/B testing, what resonates more, run a few ads, do all of these kind of things that test the market for you. But it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And we aren't always patient with trying to say, here's our action, I see an immediate outcome for that. That's just not realistic. It's not realistic. May it happen sometimes? Absolutely. Every once in a while, you will catch lightning in a bottle. But that's rare. And so to have the patience to understand, one, let me just absorb and honor who I am. Let me honor all this big hair that likes to do its own thing on my head. And just be okay with it. Because it is what it is. And at the end of the day, it's just hair. Right? Let me go ahead and move forward with this thing that I'm doing. And this is how I know that this is the right thing that I'm delivering, that I'm sitting in my purpose. Because I was able to get it started, still knowing there were things I wanted to tweak. Still knowing that I'm going to do this at noon this time, but if that doesn't work, I'm going to move the time. And not feeling like that was a failure. Because it wasn't. I had some really great conversations and connected with some people in those short meetings where I only had 4 or 5 on the call. Right? Because people are at work. It gave me insight into who the real audience is, right? Versus who I thought the audience was, or who I had been initially planning the audience to be unknowingly, right? I was saying one thing, but my mind was operating on something different. This is all about awareness. We talked about that. Taking some time to pause and really examine, what are you thinking and how is your thinking informing your action? And are they off? Is your thinking aligned with what you say your desire is? Or do you still have some kind of old perspectives that you don't realize you're still operating under, that are impacting what's going on now? And I realized I just let it go, right? I put all this stuff together. I said, here's what we're going to do. Here's how it's going to look. Let's just get it out there. Let's get it moving. And then once it was, I'm like, hey, my graphics person, can you go look at this? Something isn't right. Can you just make it work? And what she did is phenomenal. But did I stop the thing? No, I didn't stop the process. I just went ahead with it because that's what's called a tweak, right? It's not undoing everything. It's a tweak. And you will continue to tweak things over time. You will continue to tweak your leadership style. As you become a new leader, you will learn. You will learn with how people respond to you. You will learn with whether or not you get things done that you had set out to do. If you take the time to examine the outcomes and really do a holistic review of why was the outcome what it was? What was my impact on the overall outcome? How did I influence it? How did I maybe make it different or could make it different the next time, right? As you begin to build your teams and you're leading that first leadership role, right? Remember, leadership is about behavior, not about position. But as you're leading your first leadership role, did you leave that role as a leader? Or did you leave that role as someone who was put in a leadership position? Let me ask that again. Did you leave that role as a leader, or did you leave that role as someone who had just been put in a leadership position?
What's the difference?
The difference being, if you left that role as a leader, that's about behavior. You figured out how to listen actively. You figured out how to be authentic. You figured out how to be confident in hiring people and supporting people who thought differently and had different skills than you did. You didn't get all caught up in ego and so worried about how you were going to look that you weren't able to get things done through people, because leadership is about getting things done with and through other folks. But being put in a leadership position is being given power, right? You're being anointed with power. That kind of power is fleeting. That kind of power can often be a power that's based on fear, as opposed to true leadership, which is people wanting to follow you. They want to hear what you're saying. They understand your position because it's not unkind to be clear. You lead with compassion. You listen actively. You understand and you call out early when, oh, I messed that up, but here's what we're going to do different. Or help me understand, right? Or you push somebody up who has skills that are truly sitting in the gap. You're like, you know what? I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to have you do it. All I ask is that you keep me informed. Let's figure out how to do this together, right? That's leadership is about understanding it's not just you. It's not all about you. In fact, leadership is not about you at all, right? Leadership is about the other people. Being put in a leadership position does not automatically make you a leader. Being put in a leadership position can give you positional power, but it doesn't necessarily give you sustained leadership power. It gives you positional power, right? You have an ability. Good morning, Tisa. It has the ability to give you authority to make decisions, to impact other people, to hire, to fire, to reward, to punish. It gives you power to act in ways that impact when you're put in a leadership position, right? But being a leader, you understand the power that you have been given if you're put in a leadership position, and you know how to utilize that to get the most out of people in a way that is helpful and supportive and authentic to them. You are not acting in ego. Not when you're a real leader. You're not acting in ego. You're acting for a greater purpose, a greater vision, a greater plan. You know what the ultimate outcome is, and you are moving in action to get there. And you are willing to evaluate the good, the bad, and the ugly in order to make sure that every day is better, that every experience is better. And you're willing to hire people who are different, smarter than you. If you are the smartest person in the room, it is time to change locations. If you are the smartest person in the room, it is time to change locations, right? So it is really this you doing you. You have got to be, one, you got to be self-aware. You got to know who you are. You got to know your flaws. Like, I know I don't have a poker face. I know I have a real intolerance for a lack of integrity. We're not going to say one thing and do something else and then pretend that we didn't say it. Not in my world, right? We're just not going to do that. I have a really low tolerance for that. And I know that since I don't have a poker face, I have to really be cautious about the words I use so that the words and the tone don't reflect the look on my face. So instead of saying, I cannot believe you just did this, you have got to be crazy, I pause. I remember that I don't know everything, and there could be a reason, and most definitely there usually is a reason why somebody did something. So I ask a question instead of make a statement. Help me understand the reason behind that. Or I don't think I'm clear. Run that by me one more time. Because there may be some piece of information that I'm actually missing. Now, if it's not, and it was just wrong, then I deal with it at that time, but I don't come out of the gate slamming somebody. Now, we're not talking about things that are egregious, right? I'm talking about just general, when you're generally working with people. It is really important to be really solid about who you are so that you can operate in a way that is transparent and authentic, and you can call yourself out on your own mess. You can acknowledge when you've made a mistake, and you can find a way to fix it. If you are lacking something, you go find a way to fill that gap, either by hiring skills or building skills that fill the gap. None of us knows everything. It's not possible. And it's also not possible to be an expert at everything. It's not humanly possible. And think about how incredible a team you can build when you allow everyone else to operate in their genius. When you actually spend less time worrying about what you look like and more time worrying about how someone else is going to be able to really see their own genius. How you are going to be able to get everything possible out of them, not in a nefarious way, but see them work to their optimal level because you have given them the freedom to do so. You have told them that it's okay to make a mistake and shown them that when they make one, you aren't going to go beat them up. How about that as leadership? How about that? Okay, let's take a quick break, do some shout outs. Miss Jerry, I know you were taking a picture. Okay. So we're going to do some shout outs. She said, hey, wait, you caught me off guard. No. It's called live radio. Right? So we want to start doing this I wanted to do this in 2022. Jerry was really good when we first started the show, and then we just got off kilter. So I want to do some shout outs to all of you guys who are listening.
We want to shout out to Wichita Falls that is listening now, Houston, Texas, Kansas City, Missouri, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, New York, St. Louis, Indianapolis, and Atlanta, Denver. Ooh. That is for that. And then we also want to give a shout out to Melbourne, Australia on today, Brazil, the Philippines, France, and Germany.
Woohoo! Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Global reach. I know for y'all it's late in the afternoon, so thank you for tuning in. And for those of you in the United States, I really do appreciate it. I know I say it a lot, but I mean it. And I don't think you can say thank you enough. Laurel's perspective, right? I think it's important for you to say thank you and to let people know you appreciate that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
ma'am.
You
said, go back to something you said that you were talking about. Maybe it's not for you to do it this way because this influencer is doing it that way. Mm-hmm. That influencer is doing that way. And the other day, the Lord put on my mind that you always have to remember your why.
Yes.
Because it's your why that's going to continue to go on. And I got that from looking at this video that I had videoed some years ago, walking through the radio station. And I was walking down the long hallway, and a lot of things that have been added to the station were not there in the beginning. But that video reminded me that as long as you continue on the journey, you have to know the why. So my why was that we want to spread the good news and the positive news to offset the news that we're hearing across the world and all of that. Do you believe that if you know your why, that can help you stop being so caught up into what everyone else is doing? Like you said, some of the advice is good, but does it relate to your why?
Yes, and yes, and yes. Again, yes. Can I say yes?
Yes.
Because here's the thing, and that was the whole point of the 5-day alignment series, right? You have got to get grounded in what feeds you. What is the reason that you're here, right? What's your root system? What gives you your strength? What skills do you have? What brings you joy, right? How do you want to show up in the world? That is your why. That's your stuff. That alignment You have got to get aligned with you, because it's when you're not aligned with you and when you're not really comfortable and sure in you that enables everything else to come in and take you off your game. Now, again, none of us is perfect. We all have those moments where we're just vulnerable. We're just tired. We are pushing up the hill, like they say, trying to push a noodle uphill, right? A wet noodle uphill. It is hard. It is hard. And we all have those moments where we're like, really, maybe I'm not right. Maybe this wasn't really what I meant. Maybe. And it is okay. I'm giving you permission to have doubt. I'm giving you permission to have doubt. And when you have that doubt, I am suggesting that you pause a minute and just restart at the fundamentals. Why am I doing this? Something doesn't feel right. Let me go back to the things that ground me, because that means something's off in my world. Let me find out what's off and fix that before I go trying to fix all the other ancillary stuff. Let me fix the root. And then I can see if this other thing is still off, because it may be just something on. My nourishment is just off. Right? Again, I've told you guys, for me, it's faith, family, friends, and health. That health being physical, mental, emotional, financial, right? Those are my 4. When my world is not working, something is wrong in one of those 4 things. Now, I spent a lot of time in self-awareness, so it took me a while to get to that. I'm not saying you should know yours already. Some of you do. But take the time. That's what's the key thing to the alignment, right? Take that time. What are your 4 things? Or 5 things, 3 to 5. That when something's off, that's where you go first. Because when you can get solid in that, then all of this other stuff, you can put it in perspective. That's really interesting. But does that make sense? I don't know. You know, I got an email, and I know you guys are getting them too. So much clickbait out there. I got an email. I really need, are you still consulting? Because I really need some help. Are you taking new clients? Very interesting. And I responded, yep, absolutely. Maybe we should just get on a call and see if it even makes sense, if it's even a fit. Got a video back. We've just got so much business. We're looking for other people to take some of this business, and, you know, just get on this call to 7 minutes, and don't be insulted if you get my assistant and not me. Don't be insulted, because it's okay. It's just that we're so busy, and let's see if this can be a mutually exclusive, a mutually beneficial thing, right? In other words, revenue sharing. How are we going to get clients? What kind of, you know, all of that kind of stuff, right? Clickbait. If I were in a different place, I would have said, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Because see, then they're going to be getting clients for me. And then we can, One, I don't know you yet. I don't know how you do business. I don't know how you show up. I'm going to assume it's authentic, but I don't know. We've never even had a conversation. Never even knew who you were until then. And I keep that in mind when people are looking for me. They don't know me. They need to know who I am. People need to get to know you and know if they can trust you, which is another reason why I try to show up all the time, right? I'm doing my podcast every week. I'm doing this radio show every week. I'm trying to show up. This is who I am, right? I want people to be, and when they reach out, I'm like, go listen to the podcast, listen to the radio show. If you want to work with me, that's who I am. That's who I am. So if I weren't solid in that, then I could have really jumped into this really easily. And I'm probably still going to call just to see. Now I'm just curious. But I'm curious for curiosity's sake, not curious out of desperation. Not curious out of thinking, well, I'm doing it wrong, and the only way for me to build is to do whatever this person says. Because they really need me, quote unquote. No, they don't. No, they don't. Because if they didn't really know me, yeah, they may have seen me, but that kind of reach out, you know, is clickbait. You know it is. And if you respond, just know what you're responding to, right? I'm getting so many of these lately. Join this podcast. We're do this accelerator. Now, don't get me wrong. There are really things that I want to do to continue to grow and learn. And there's some people who are true experts out there that I'm following and that I'm listening to. And I am absorbing and learning and determining how I can better my skills, right? It's about mastering your craft. People pay for your mastered craft. That's what they pay for. How can I continue to learn and grow and develop and build my skills? One, because I love it. But two, because if I really am living into my purpose, which is service, then I need to make sure my skills are on point. So when people look to me and especially invest their resources in me, time, energy, money, that they are getting what they paid for. I don't want to be one of those people that people pay all of this money for. And they're like, wait, what? I didn't even get close to what you promised me. I don't want to be that. So I am going to invest in building my skills, but I'm also going to be discerning. And I'm going to pay attention to me and understand when I am seeking out guidance because I'm in a place of, my gosh, this isn't what I wanted. It's not working. Am I in that place, or am I in a place of confidence and comfort and really looking for what's next, right? How can I build? What else can I learn that I can then deliver to somebody else? And how can I take that learning and combine it with my experience to present it in a way that is authentic to me and is unique to the way I deliver services? You know, I listen to lots of podcasts and lots of radio shows and lots of other people. I love that. And I even had a conversation with myself the other day and said, Laurel, is somebody going to come to you one day and say, do you ever have a unique idea? Because every time you talk about somebody else. I do have unique ideas. And the show is called The Rebel's Perspective. But how do you continue to build your own perspective if you have never heard anybody else's? If you have never examined your own critically, how do you know? And so I love having my perspective challenged, and my perspective is challenged, and my intellectual need, right? That need to learn and grow and hear other things. I mean, that is just something, that's the way I'm wired. I am bored. If I'm not learning something, something's got to challenge me intellectually. And so I listen to a lot of other people and a lot of their perspectives. And I love hearing that because it helps me to really think again about mine. And in most cases, it solidifies it. Or I'll bring it to you and say, you know what? I heard this. It was a very interesting comment. Here's what it made me think. What about you? Did that make you think of something else? Right? When I was looking this weekend, looking at my hair, dealing with my hair, that made me think about something different. Think about, yes, it's hair, but it's a metaphor for another context of experimentation. Give yourself an opportunity to experiment. It's not going to be perfect the first time. You can't just use it the same way. Even the instructions on the bottle may not work for you. Does a dime size really work? Or does yours need to be a quarter size? Or does yours need to be a pea size? What works for you? Take all of the information in context and then understand how it fits on top of who you are, where you are, what you want, and what you're willing to do to get there. Because there's not a one size fits all. We are all different. We are all different in some kind of way. And so being able to find the thing that works for you is okay. That's who you are. That's what you're supposed to do. That's the way you can show up as the best leader you can be. Because you can show up the same every day. If you're doing you, if you're doing somebody else, you got to remember which mask to put on. Right? And we talk about that all the time, that whole imposter syndrome, right? Trying to be somebody else, having to twist yourself into a pretzel just to make sure you're okay in the environment that you're in. Now, again, I'm not talking about plain old assimilation, right? Because if you're working for somebody else and it's their company, there are some cultural things that are just, if you're going to work there, those are some things you just got to get used to. I'm talking about the stuff that makes you unsafe, right? The things that really get in your soul and keep you from showing up the way you are. That's the stuff that's not okay, right? And if you can really show up as you all of the time, managing your behavior, understanding, right? Knowing you don't have a poker face, that is going to give you the greatest solid foundation upon which to be and become the best leader you can possibly be with your skills and your intentions. And be able to really lead people in a way that's authentic because you're showing up the way you are all the time. And you don't have a problem saying, you know, I have no idea. Or like I did a couple of times saying, y'all, I just got to let you know, I'm fighting a battle with some senior execs. It's got me in a different place. I'm not going to be as patient as I normally am today. So we're doing this meeting. I want to hear what you said, but I'm really going to need you to get to the point today because I really don't have a lot of energy for lots of discussion because I need to reserve that energy for this battle I'm getting ready to have for all of us. But I just said it because I know me well enough to know, and I knew my team well enough to know that there were some people on my team that if I wasn't open and given 400% and just that it was going to be, what did I do? She doesn't like me. I'm going to get fired. Which didn't have anything to do with me, had everything to do with them, but I was leading the organization. So I had to learn to be much more in tune to what the people on my team needed. So I could still show up as me. I still wasn't going to have time to go through all the machinations that day, but I could tell them that up front and tell them why. so that I could immediately dispel, I'm not mad at you. You're not a problem. You're not getting fired. You're not being put on a performance review. I got other stuff that is really critical today. Or the person that really needed the 400 minutes of complaining. You know what? Is this, you need to vent? Or is this, we got something we need to solve? I just need to know what this meeting is so I can get my mind right. And if it's a venting session, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. 10 minutes to get it all out. And then we're going to talk about solutions. Because I can't allow you to stay in that complaining mode because we got too much work to do and you've got too much talent. And you are critical to the team. And so we're going to figure out what it is. And we're going to let you vent so you can get it off. So then we can move into action. But I had to learn to do that. And as a leader, learn to be okay with that vulnerability. To say, I'm not okay today. I am just not okay today. And that's not about you. That's about me. But I'm going to call it out so you know. Right? That's about being a leader. And it's okay to not be okay. Because not everybody's okay all the time. Sometimes you want to put your mask on because you just don't want to be bothered. And what you're dealing with, you just don't need everybody in your business. That's okay too. If you can put that mask on sometimes and just smile through it, you do that. But there's sometimes, remember, people are watching. Someone's always watching. Someone's always watching. And especially if you're leading a team, they're always watching. How do you behave? What do you say? How do you respond? People will listen to what you say. They will believe what you do. If your words and actions are not aligned, they're going to believe your actions because your actions impact them. Your words will stay with them, but your actions impact them. Maya Angelou said, people will remember how you treat them, how you made them feel, right? They'll listen to what you say, but people will remember how you made them feel. So as a leader, it's really important to understand that your impact is bigger than just your words. Your impact is about your action and giving yourself the opportunity to really do things and be the leader that you are. You don't have to be the same leader as everyone else. That's what happens in a lot of these cultures, especially in very, very old organizations, right? You see over time the people that got promoted, the people that got the big job. Well, depending on how long your average tenure is, that's a whole different world. That's a different time frame. There were times when you could treat anybody any kind of way. There was a time when you could smoke in the office, right? We don't do that anymore either. So just because it worked then doesn't mean it's going to work now. As they say, what got you here won't get you there. So be careful about what behaviors you begin to emulate, not only because whether or not they are truly authentic to you, but really if they're indicative of the organization that you're in and the culture that you're in, is that who you want to be? And is that real? And even if it is real, can you show up different and really make an impact and show people, you know what, you don't have to do that to be successful. You can do this other thing, this other way, and still be successful.
I like what you said early on about at least you have to take some chances and take some risks and get started.
Yes, just get started.
Yeah. Because a lot of times we don't get started and then we're looking, well, we should do this, I should do that, but you never even got started to take the chance to see.
Right.
That's important.
How do you know what's going to work if you never try anything? And I'm a recovering perfectionist, y'all. I get it. I want it to be polished and clean and good before I even get it out there. But you got to know the difference between when it is necessary to be slow and precise and when it is okay to be quick and approximate. And most of the time, it's okay to be quick and approximate if you are willing to constantly be aware and just redo, just kind of flex a little bit, right? I got it out there. I knew the word, and these words changed, right? This first one, it was like the Getting 5-Day Alignment Series was getting grounded. It really is about getting grounded. But you know what? It doesn't make sense to put that. It just call it alignment. That's what it is. Alignment, vision, action. Alignment, vision, action. That's what we're doing, right? We're going to do a 5-day series for you to get aligned. We're going to do a masterclass for you to clarify your vision. We're going to do a group program that is Empowered Action Academy because we are already empowered. We just got to move into action. But it took a minute to get there. So the stuff I put out initially looked different. Some of the graphics I used looked different. And now they're cleaner. Now they're what I want to be. The baseline, the what, right? And why I'm doing it, that has not changed. The pretty is what changed.
Mm-hmm.
And the pretty is ancillary. Again, it may look all shiny on the outside, but if it's wormy on the inside, what does it matter? Because people are going to remember that you fed them worms. They just looked real nice. But a worm is still a worm.
Can the pretty show up as you go? Because as you
Absolutely.
said, you started one way, and then when you got started, the more you got it out there, people that had the gift set, the skill set, come along.
Absolutely. You know, and I, if you look at my website and you see the triangles, so again, it's alignment, vision, action, AVA, right? AVA. And so I did triangles on purpose because it ties to that alphabet. And so as I was talking to her and I said, here's what it is, and here's what I'm doing. And she went back, and it wasn't a huge change, right? I'm still using the same pictures, still using the same triangles, but she went through and did kind of this outline where there's actually an A and a V and an A. It is phenomenal. I never even crossed my mind. I didn't see it. I didn't have that vision, but I have team, right? I have service providers who I feel are part of my team who have that expertise, who found it. And so we're making that adjustment. Doesn't change the content, doesn't change my why, doesn't change where I'm going. It just really makes it now cleaner and clearer. It's the pretty. It's the pretty, right? It's the messaging. All right. Thank y'all. Any questions? We're at 1 hour.
I know, just people saying, thank you for the advice. Pastor Deborah Moulton Brown. We also
Good morning,
have
Deborah.
Dun Beasy from the Big Easy.
Good morning.
We also have Nicholas Hines and Denise Washington chimed in on this morning.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in and for listening, for your comments. Thank you, Odessa. I see y'all were on. I really appreciate it. Go out and get yourself an opportunity to just be and to experiment, right? Because it's not going to be right the first time all the time. Go out and experiment. And it's generally just little tweaks. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If it's really sitting in what you know you want to deliver, just tweak a little bit. That may be all it takes. All right. We will see y'all next week. Thank you for tuning in. Go get registered to vote. Go pay attention to your local elections. Take care. Bye.